Welcome to Ethical Edge Insights, Conversations with Changemakers, a space for deeply reflective conversations with those shaping our world. Here we explore their journeys, their greatest challenges, their most significant contributions to date, the contributions they seek to make, and how ethics have shown up along the way. Join us as we uncover the stories that shape our shared future. Hello, everyone, and Dumi. I'm so happy you're here. I'm looking forward to this call. So this is a Conversations with Changemakers interview chat that we'll have for the Ethical Edge Insights, the magazine, and this will be available for everyone who's subscribed to the magazine. And Dumi, well, there's so much to say, but you're part of the Coaching Ethics Forum advisory team and have been there since the beginning, and I've appreciated all your supports in its various ways across time. But I want to know more about where you've come from, really, because this we haven't explored much.
Yeah. Thank you, Wendy-Ann. Thank you. I really want to appreciate you for what you've done. Your brainchild of getting this part of the work we love so much as coaches and people development around the world, what you've done to put together the Coaching Ethics Forum and what has emerged from it as offshoots from that, including the Ethical Edge Insights, which I absolutely love. I think this is likely to grow to be a leading voice in the world on coaching ethics. So thank you for that. Just want to appreciate you for what you do and what you've done. And for me, my own journey really around what has inspired me to pursue this line of work or career path professionally is the need to see more leaders that are attuned to what's needed in our fragmented, disconnected world. And while we're doing that, to stay on the right side of ethical conduct, ethical, not just doing things, but ethical ways of being that come from within each one of us. Growing up in Africa, in spaces where you make sure that no one is left behind, you try and take everyone with you and give everyone a fair shake in life. I see that, having traveled around the world, been exposed to all kinds of things, worked for the United Nations before, I see every day leaders that I encounter, that some of them who are my clients, CEOs, board leaders, members of boards that I work with and that I coach, that I collaborate with, and seeing the need for staying on the right side of ethics not just in business practice, but in self-leadership, self-management, how people conduct themselves, how they speak to each other, and just how they seek to make a difference in the world. That if it's ethically grounded, we can all be in a much, much better place in this small planet we call home. Small. So for me, it's really the deep yearning for genuine, ethically grounded leadership. And leadership, not just leading, but transformative leadership that makes a difference in people's lives and is ethically sound, not pursuing selfish interests for myself or my company or my executive team or my shareholders, but more thinking of how can we together make the world a better place. I always said ICF when I was in a leadership role there, we #together. We need to move together. And that's how it has to be. We need to be thinking, who is part of my together?
I'm going to steal that hashtag.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to add it to the social media posts for Coaching Ethics Forum, the Ethical Edge Insights, and even for the Champions of Courage Awards, that together hashtag is going to be used. I like that. So I love that you've been inspired just to get on the right side of the wrong from a leadership perspective. I'm wondering about your journey from wherever you want to begin to where you are now. Would you like to speak a little to that?
I would say I started early on I always wanted to be a medical doctor when I was young, and then wanted to be a lawyer, seeing injustices of the parts of the world I live in, colonialism, apartheid, and that. And then I ended up being in the social sciences, the humanities, looking at human behavior. And I'm glad I did the behavioral sciences. Ended up doing a PhD in behavioral science, having studied sociology, social anthropology, and then just social psychology, understanding how people think or reflect and look at themselves in different cultures. I find that fascinating. To this day, I'm still such a keen, curious student about human behavior. And I see it all the time, even in executive boardrooms and in serving on boards and other places. I see human behavior as one of the most fascinating things. So growing up, living off the land taught me to be self-sufficient in many ways. I still love gardening, by the way. Right now, I live in Johannesburg, and I have a very rich garden where I have vegetables and all kinds of fruit and stuff. And so I use the land in that way as a metaphor for life itself, because it is life itself. But my journey really was from that, studying that, and then learning to lead others from an early age, having been a firstborn, and then moving on to study abroad, and then coming back home and leading organizations, even in government. And learning early on as a younger leader among many. In the UN, I led a group of people that were older than me. And then in government, more or less the same. And then in my own business, learning that age really is nothing. It's about the qualities of the relationships you build that help you achieve things. I learned that as a general manager in one of the roles I play, responsible for other people that were more competent in other areas, and then learning to manage myself in interaction with them and understanding the value and quality of good, strong, trusting relationships early on in my career. And I've valued that, and that has carried me. This is why I use #together very much. And having the opportunity to serve and to be invited to serve in leadership roles has helped me understand that it's not about me, it's about service. So I've noticed that's what I carry with me, that my grandfather always said, and my father always said, when you have other people that you lead, make sure that they feel that you are there for them. And that when you lead others, they must know that it's safe to come to you with an issue that they need resolved. And then you help resolve it together. You don't solve problems for them. You're infantilizing them. You're making them small. Ask questions. So I knew this coaching thing way before I knew it was called coaching. So I grew up in it. To say, when someone comes to you with an issue, ask them if they had the powers or what resources they need for them to actually resolve it. Because chances are they already have one or other way they could resolve it. They may not be sure. They may be looking for affirmation from you to say, should we go this way or that way? So lead with questions, not with answers to tell them. Yes, that's mentoring, but you've got to be more, the coaching approach resonated with me early on in my career. And this is why when I got training to become a coach, it was the most exhilarating journey Wendy-Ann, to train and become a coach. And my first training was in integral school with an incredible woman called Dr. Patty Pambalis, who is the founder of the school called The Coaching Center in South Africa. And I've been senior faculty there now for 17 or 18 years. And I'm vice principal of the school now, working with her. And she does incredible things quietly. These are leaders that model exactly that, more similar to what you're doing. Founders quietly doing things, exploring and impacting the world in ways you would never understand. And then there are others that are along my journey that have taught me that service for the greater good is the way to be as a leader. And I've stayed on that path. And this is why I associate very closely, and I love the work that Coaching Ethics Forum is doing. Because if you look at what you've done, what everyone associated with CF has done, is there's a passion to make a difference, not just in the coaching fraternity, but in all human development professions, let's call them that. And this is why this work is so important. And for me, it's natural that I find myself here and doing this work, because it's about service for the greater good. #together.
#together, connected to your leadership role at ICF. And that's leadership roles just recently come to a close and put you into a post-leader role. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? That would be a bit of a pinnacle right in the most recent times, would it not?
Yeah, I was invited to raise my hand to be chair of ICF, and it's such a privilege and humbling honor to serve in that role, which really is being a servant of the profession of coaching. And I'm eternally grateful to the board that elected me, and the executive team led by the amazing Magda, the CEO of ICF, who has incredible passion for coaching that many people may not even be aware of. But she is fiercely passionate about coaching, and coaching is transforming power in the world. And her team of VPs and the COO, Todd Hamilton, and the great guy, and the rest of them in the family organizations around that. I learned a lot about ICF. Before that, I was with the foundation. That's when I got to ICF by the foundation as a trustee. The foundation, incredible people, a good friend called Morel Foreman, and many others who were there, and now some of them who have moved on from there. And I was very keen to, I can do more here. So after completing my 4 years as a trustee on the ICF Foundation, I was invited if I can serve on the general enterprise board, the main board of the ICF. And I considered it for a while. So it takes a bit of your time, but this is free service for it. It's volunteer leadership, really. And that resonated with me around serving the profession that I love so much. So I accepted to do that, and then ended up being elected as vice chair for a year, and then as chair for 2 years. And I just finished that last December 2024. And I'm serving my final year now on the GE board, the ICF General Enterprise Board, as a director at large for 1 more year. And a number of significant things I've seen there with the Ukraine-Russia during that time, and then the Middle East, and then a big Converge in-person, first one after COVID in Florida, which some of our coaches were not very keen on it. Like, why should we go to that state in the internal politics? Then negotiating that together with others and seeing how that transpired. It's been an exhilarating journey of leadership and understanding how to work with others in very challenging times, and seeing that firsthand and how it pans out at leadership level has been an absolute privilege. And many people are not aware the kind of work that goes on behind the scenes that executives in an association like ICF have to do to keep things held together. And I'm grateful to have had sight of that, and appreciate deeply the work that our teams across the ICF ecosystem, what's called One ICF, are doing to support the organization for it to not just to stand, but to continue to grow, because it's growing quite exponentially. It's an incredible, incredible place.
I have to say, historically, ICF have been a very strong supporter of the work of the Coaching Ethics Forum as well. So that's been appreciated very much. So you have a rich leadership history. And I know you can be incredibly humble, like most people who I talk to here, and they get a bit caught on this question, but I'm going with it anyway. So it is that what do you consider to be your most important contribution to coaching, mentoring, and or leadership?
Wow. What I would say is my contribution is keeping the light, the ethical light on. That in everything, anyone that interacts with me, that does anything around me where I side off, that it must be that I will ask questions like that. And I'm not perfect myself. Like anyone, I've got my shortcomings, make mistakes and do that and learn from it. And I challenge and question things from a leadership point. Very gentle. I'm not aggressive. I'm not going to embarrass or humiliate anybody. And I'll ask questions. And I have my ways of doing that. And I've been told, and even one client called me a people whisperer. Because I will come to someone, if we're in a meeting, could be a board meeting or an executive leadership meeting, and this is what you said in the meeting, and this is on the side. I'll call them on the side, or we meet for coffee or something. This is what you said. This is what I've noticed. What's going on? So what I do, Wendy, and I connect one-on-one and engage one-on-one and get to know people. For me, this is one thing that's missing in leadership. Genuine, authentic human connection where you check in on someone. And I've learned so many things and found so many things about others by just seeking to connect. So when I teach or write in my book, for example, I write about connection, human connection. This is something I don't just fantasize, intellectualize about. I am that. I practice that, and that's one of my biggest contributions to our profession around modeling how to really genuinely connect. You and I meeting sometimes, we start the meeting with in 10, 15, 20 minutes in, and we're connecting. For me, that's deliberate. That's not by, we've got to find ways to connect with each other and to see each other. In my language, Zulu is Zulu. When we meet someone, we say, Sawubona. It literally means I see you. So I don't just talk about that. I am that, I do that, I practice that, I live that. I connect and I see others as they are. Not the story. I can hear that Wendy-Ann is in France and then think French people are like this or that, or English people are this, and Australian people are like, it's just a story. How about you meet Wendy-Ann where she is and connect with her where she is? We need that more in the world, to find ways to connect with each other authentically where we are. The world needs that.
Yeah.
Every one of us needs that.
That's incredibly powerful. And I wonder if we really think enough about that, meeting someone with where they're at, because think about when you and I met 4 years ago, that meeting of where we were each at that time is very different to where we meet each other now as a consequence of our individual growth, our evolution of our relationship across time.
Yeah.
And that stuff imprints and impacts how we meet now. So we can't meet each other as we were 4 years ago, because we are both, well, I know I'm quite different from the same, but different from where I was 4 years ago.
I'm going to jump in there and say something, because you mentioned the word imprint. That's exactly what it is about. Each one of us, when we encounter others, we've never met in person, and it feels like we have.
Yes, we haven't.
Yeah,
I
there is
didn't
a
interrupted your gardening, but
yeah, there you go. There is a soul imprinting. A good friend of mine, Barbara Nussbaum, she wrote a beautiful book about African wisdom in human development with two other authors. And she wrote some things about soul prints that has stayed with me, that I use a lot, that we leave behind soul prints when we encounter others and we connect genuinely with them. Our fingerprints, everything we touch, we leave behind fingerprints. But when you connect with someone genuinely, you leave behind your soul prints. You imprint on them with your very soul. That's our energies interfacing. And once that is established, it takes quite a while to unbangle or dismantle that. Because we connect at soul level, we see each other as extensions of each other, as supports for each other. I truly believe that, because for me, it explained something that I always saw with some of my clients. Not to create dependency that you can't do it without anyone, but to know that whenever you need to, you go to them, they will be there. Like, you know that if in a conference, something is happening, we say, Dumi, are you available? Can you jump in and do this? If I'm available, I'll jump in and do it. No questions asked. That's because there is a connection there. That's genuine and real. And it's not influenced by whatever story is around there. When you have had that soul print on each other, it's easy to do that. And humanity needs that, Wendy-Ann. We like to fragment and separate and disconnect way too easily based on superficial things like the skin wrapping that you come in, or the geography where you were born or where you live. That means very little. We need to find each other as we are, extensions of each other, connected, inextricably, inherently interconnected human beings. That's who we are.
Find each other where we are. So the challenge is, how do we do that and walk a course that's also ethical? I mean, you would argue that that is the ethical way to walk, okay? But
Yeah.
I know that. But I want to say that meeting someone with where they are and the challenges that that can have when we're thinking about ethics. So, okay, we're being ethical by meeting them where they're at. But what about the other aspects of ethical decision making that comes into these interactions? Can you tell us about how you navigate that, what impact it might have on you, even describe a particular scenario, keeping everyone anonymous?
Yeah, I'll do my best to keep everything anonymous. If I mention anything, you'll edit it out of this when the end. For me, ethics play a significant role in my day-to-day decision-making processes. Because I interact a lot with leaders, I coach leaders of corporations, of companies. And I always say to my team and my clients, if it smells unethical in any way at whatever level, it probably is unethical. If it smells unethical, if something in you, your ethical bone says, something to check here, make sure you check. Chances are something is not right, something is amiss. So I always say to myself and my team, always stay on the right side of ethical conduct and ethical practice at all times, no exceptions. And an example of that, I've been called, sometimes invited to, in one organization, one board that I work in a few years back, about 7-8 years ago, I think, before I joined ICF. Someone said, "Oh, we know you serve in this organization. We would like you to recommend to us who we should work with on this." That's unethical. I shouldn't do that, because I'm on the board of that organization. I can't be the one doing that. No, but there is no ethical conflict here. We've checked and it's okay. You're just recommending that. If it comes out that I did, and this person is the one now who's got the deal to do this, I will have to recuse myself, maybe even resign from that. And they're like, no, but it's nothing. There are no rules or policies that say, no, I'm not going to do that. It just doesn't sit right with me. And that's the thing. How do you know when something doesn't sit right with you? What is it that tells you that? You've got to listen to that inner voice, because we all have an ethical antenna. And I say this to people, some of my students where I teach. What's your ethical antenna when you coach? You will know when you, and that's one thing that I'd like us to possibly have at some point. What's your ethical antenna that stands up there? Like, I've got an ethical antenna, and if it starts buzzing or vibrating, like you're hitting the wrong note here, you have to listen to it. So I always check if there are not ethical violations in anything that I do. And in some situations, I've been asked if I can pitch for work in an organization that I know maybe I shouldn't. And I know that if I did, I would get the job and I would make some money. But I'd rather not do that, because I prefer to sleep better at night knowing that I did that. I always say to leaders must always smell ethically clean. So
As
I must
best
take
as you can.
yeah, leaders must smell ethically clean, and that's it. You got to know that you're ethically clean. Take your ethical showers regularly.
Take your ethical showers. Okay,
By
Dumi,
attending
explain,
CF,
what does that look like? How does that work? Oh, that's a funny turn of phrase, but you know what? Unpack that for us.
you attend every CF event. That's your ethical shower.
And what else? Have an
Yeah.
ethical shower. Tell me more about that.
Talk to people that are ethically aware or ethically conscious. There's something here about that you need to work on this. I mean, and you're great at making things come alive around. There's a level of intelligence about being ethical that I think we haven't brought out now with AI in the digital space. Something to look at. If you are, call it a kind of ethical intelligence, that you've got to be ethically smart. And if you're ethically dumb, you're going to make decisions that will put you in positions where you're unethical, or you're deemed unethical, or you're perceived as ethical. Because perception is real in the ethical landscape. So it's understanding that sometimes you need to keep yourself ethically clean. It's very important to try and do that. And if we have standards for something like that, like this, and this is where the work that you're doing around this needs to come in, that every training of every coach and coach, mentor, psychologist, therapist, whatever, people, development practitioners, that we need to make sure that there are standards, especially in coaching, where coaching and team coaching, that every practitioner that's certified in an accredited course or is credentialed has undergone a level of ethical training, ethical grounding as a coach. For me, that I love that work that CF will be doing, and it's really CF's landscape and space. You do that with all coaches, so coaching bodies in the world, Wendy-Ann, and we make this standard practice that this is part of it, and it's linked.
Well, you know that I'm working on that. You know, I've already put something together, so we'll see what happens. You're venturing into topics maybe we shouldn't go into yet.
We'll edit that out of the way. Yeah, you can take that out. But I know that you're working on that.
But we'll leave it there. But it's true, you know, I'm already I've already conceptualized ideas around that and put something together. So we'll see how we go.
My point is really to acknowledge that and say that when I got to know that from you, that's a brilliant idea, and this is why I'm endorsing and highlighting that you really need to push for that and make sure that everybody does that. but they must give that credit really to CF, that they're partnering with a credible body for them to do that. And whichever form it takes, that you lead that and you make sure that's a partnership that's solid into the future of coaching in the digital space.
Absolutely. I think it can
well
be,
done for that. Well done.
I think it can be transformative for coaching, but we'll see how we go. It's all very early days yet.
Yes,
By the time people hear this recording, hopefully everything around it is already public knowledge, so it's okay. One way or another, it'll be public knowledge, so we'll see. So tell me, you've just thrown me a bit, having gone into that territory, which I wasn't expecting us to go into at all.
We can edit that out. Let's move on.
Can you describe a time when you were challenged to act on a decision and how you overcame it? And notice I didn't put the word ethics in there at all. So, and I did it intentionally. So describe a time when you were challenged to act on a decision and how you overcame it.
Yeah, it's sometime in South Africa with our internal politics. I was asked in a leadership role to support one part in a local municipality, local government, to support one part of a business. When I was a stakeholder, I had my team working in that space. So in one of the council meetings, I was asked to endorse one part of it and support them. And I couldn't do that because we need to be working with the council, not with the factions in there. And I refused to do that. And it got us close to being kicked out of work, which would meant some of my people losing their jobs. And I had to explain to the mayor and the council and the chief whip and the others and the politicians in there that our position was not a political one, but more a management support one to the municipality. And my position was really influenced by an ethical consideration of what our role was in that. And it was a tough decision for me to make because I did have a position that personally I would have wanted to take for the benefit of everyone else. But I had to make a decision that was tough for me, that was more neutral and more ethically sound for the whole thing. And I had to write a recommendation why I did that, which actually helped resolve the whole thing. And if I hadn't done that, chances are I would have jeopardized people's jobs and livelihoods quite easily based on what I considered my own preferred role or position in that. So sometimes when you make an ethical decision, it may not be the one that you would actually make. You need to know, this is why you need to keep your ethical antenna on so that you can pick up the right signals of what you need to do.
And what was the outcome of that particular scenario?
The outcome was that a good decision that suited the communities that were going to benefit from the projects that were going to be implemented was done, and things went up well. And poor communities managed to get water into sections of the settlement or the town that they hadn't gotten before. And they got that in record time, which is very successful. And we did very well with that, which is good. It's a development area and a tough history of no services provided or given to people. Yeah.
So, I mean, these kind of stories, they're the ones that I want to see in the Champions of Courage Awards, so I'm hoping that between these conversations and the Courage Awards, that people can see the alignment and actually help foster more conversations around the people who make decisions, who champion particular causes or outcomes, and they win over in some way for the benefit of others. So this is my wish. So what legacy do you hope to leave through your work?
through my work, I would like to leave a legacy of having come, seen, and connected. He came, he arrived, he saw, he established strong connections. And he consolidated human relationships in ways not seen before. I believe that with what I call Ubuntu, what we call Ubuntu in my part of the world, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, and Ubuntu intelligence, which is the living of everything, everyday life with Ubuntu awareness, that we can really create genuine human interconnectedness, not based on lies and old narratives that don't serve us, that separate us based on whatever things. There's all kinds of things that you see, race, culture, geography, DI, and all kinds of things that people talk about. Things that are there to just separate. And our brains sometimes can be so small, you're in a little box, then I understand it. Like, you're this, therefore you're that, stay in your corner. And that humanity is much broader than that. And we need to be open to seeing everyone and everything as they are, not the stories we have about them.
How will we know, or how will you know? Yeah, how will we all know, including you, that that legacy is played out?
Maybe I need to write more books or make videos and do other things for people to get the message that we need to. I would also like those that I encounter to know that I see them as they are and acknowledge the gifts and talents that they can only, the gifts and talents that can only come through them. Like when I work with Wendy-Ann or anyone else, that I honor the presence of the other person, of you, with the gifts that can only come through you. And then we together we co-create space for each one of us to fully express the gifts that can only come through us. That's our work with each other. Co-create spaces where everyone can showcase why they're here. The gifts that don't come through anybody else can only come through Wendy-Ann, need to be expressed by Wendy-Ann during her lifetime while she has energy to do it. Same thing with me, same thing with anyone else. The work we have here on this earth is to do that for each other. We're too focused on our individual selfish interests that we lose sight of the need to be selflessly co-creating spaces for everyone to be their magnificent self.
And how are we all going to feel?
We're all going to be aware that when you've done your part, I always say, there's one of my mentors of mine that whose work is I still follow, Dr. Miles Monroe, says, you got to die empty, having done what you came here to do. And that the richest place on earth is the cemetery, where dreams and goals and visions and inventions are lying never realized. So for me, part of my legacy is really saying, I see you in your full brilliance as a fellow human being. And I hope you see others the same way as brilliant human beings. We're here to live, to be the best versions of ourselves. And I'm here to support others to be that. I wouldn't be a coach if I didn't believe that. I believe that to my very core, that I'm here to help co-create space for others to be their best versions.
I'm really caught on that leaving empty. It causes a tension in me. It's like, how wonderful to get to a place where you're to pass over and you go, I've done my bit. I can't imagine at this point there's any more I could do. But then there's this other part of me that says, well, I don't want to get to the point where I'm passing over and I don't have this, there's more yet to be done. I haven't done it all, but I don't need to do it all. But there's so much more I know that can be done. I'm caught between the tensions of both of those poles that I think, I don't know which one I want to sit at, but part of me right now goes, no, I want to still have all this stuff flying around in my head that we can go and do.
Yeah.
But I'd be at
Yeah.
peace. But I'd be at peace with what has happened, with what is
Yeah.
being left behind. I think you can
Yeah.
hold the two in one.
Yes. That's a beautiful polarity. You've got to know what it is that you're here to do. We call it purpose or personal vision. And once you know what that is, and you're aligned with that, and you do that, and you actually effect it and do it and see it, the fruit of it, it's fine. Then when it comes down to you taking your final breath, you say, I did my part. Others will continue and carry on.
Yeah.
They pick up wherever they do.
Mm.
So we can't do everything. Like we can't boil the ocean.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We've come to our final question. You
Yeah.
ready?
Yes.
What do you believe is the most pressing issue in our field today, and how are you addressing it? Just to put all the burden on your shoulders.
Fragmentation, disconnection, separation, othering, them, they, those. Lack of basic humility or humanity, and this stinking residue of age-old social programming or conditioning that puts certain people in certain categories and boxes, and that others who hang on to that and not seeing other humans as they are, but hanging on to old stories that don't serve us. For me, it's the solution is meeting people where they are at and knowing them as they know themselves, not the story I have about them. That's it seems easy at first glance, but the programming and conditioning that many people have about others is what keeps us from not seeing each other fully in our magnificence and brilliance. And thinking we're better or superior or less or inferior, those things, even those dichotomies, for me, they don't serve humanity. Because it's a well-crafted, well-fed narrative. And we need to, I always say, flying too close to the unethical sun of seeing others as something else other than fellow beings. So for me, genuine human connection can help us transcend most of these. Genuine, authentic human connection, unencumbered by stories. When I see you as a beautiful fellow human being that's doing the best they can, pursuing whatever goals, purpose, vision you have for your life, and then accompanying you for part of your journey to do that, while you accompany me up as part of my journey to achieve whatever I want to achieve. We need to do that for each other. We need to be each other's travel mates, because all of us are on a journey, and it begins and ends at some point. While we are traveling, we meet along this life journey. We need to do the best we can to be of service to each other. And that's how we do this thing called life. Together. #together.
We're going to finish on that little hashtag. Meeting you where you're at has been a delight, Dumi. Thank you so much for the time today. And I hope people enjoy the conversation that we've had and some of the snippets that we can pull from it. So thank you again.
My pleasure, Wendy. And thank you so very much for what you do for the world, really. It's not just for coaching or for ethics, it's for humanity. Your work will live way, way beyond you and this work. So thank you for what you do.